Welcome to the InFlow Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome to the InFlow Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch, again coming to you all on this beautiful new week here in April of 2021. I'm excited to come to you guys and talk to you about something that I think goes on in a lot of ladies' mind, especially if you are a mother already. And what I'm going to be talking in today's episode is about parenting, on being a mom, and also being an entrepreneur, on being a real estate investor, on being a CEO, on being a business owner while being a mom and a woman, pretty much. I got inspired to talk about this today because I had a question from someone that sent me a direct message saying, Michelle, I so admire you. You're so inspirational. You seem to have what she meant to say. You seem to have like all your ducks in a row. Like, she actually used the word your shit together. But in any case, let's try to keep it PG here. And I am here to say that I don't have it always together. That it may seem like that, but on the surface, but in the background, yes, there are some key foundational things in my life that are already working really, really well, that I have actually, invested years and years so that they can be working really, really well, where I've done the reps in order for there to be a little bit more ease and a little bit more grace. But by all means, it does not mean that I have it all together. We're all figuring it out. I am also a mom, and I don't have a manual, and I only have one. And even if you have 4 or 5 kids, that very first one, you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going through each and every phase, from baby, infant, toddler to little girl to, young lady right now, a teenager, she's 13, and everything is new to me. And they don't come with an instruction manual for sure. And being an entrepreneur also doesn't come with an instruction manual. Being a real estate investor doesn't come with an instruction manual either. It's something that as you go along, you look for others that are doing some things really, really well, and you try to model them. And I think it's been the result of a lot of inner work that it may seem like, there is that everything is basically cookie cutter, very well planned. And yes, there is some to that, there is some structure to that and some validity to that, but it also comes from just certain distinctions that I've been able to make, from other people that are doing this really, really well along the way. And I just wanted to start by saying that as individuals, whether you're a real estate entrepreneur, investor, or mom or single mom, or thinking about starting a business, or whatever it is that you're doing, all individuals, I think, are being pulled by having one thing, and that is having a vision for your life. And I think many, many years ago, even before I started, having a business, I remember, being part of a program where my life was being split into 12 categories, my character, my health and fitness, my mental category of my life, my spiritual, my financial, my career, my parenting, my social, my love relationship, my quality of life, and so on and so forth, to come to this, with 11 aspects of your life, to come and create this one life vision, that is composed of these 11 things. So this 12th thing really is made of these 11 things that is really your life, because you're not just a parent, you're not just a wife, you're not just a career person or an entrepreneur. Like we live full lives. Leadership is about whole life leadership in all of these areas, and a win in one of these categories of life really translates into a win in all. And the very first categories that I remember me trying to do the reps, many years ago, and continue every single day. Really, it's an ongoing journey of never-ending improvement. Was my health and fitness, character, spiritual, and mental, and those are pretty much categories of your life that are all about how you relate to yourself internally. Yeah, and then there comes the social, the parenting, the love relationship, the financial, career, which is really categories of your life where how you relate to others. And like I said, usually a win in one translates to having a win in others. And because I've had a win in a lot of these, because I've actively have worked on working on myself, on having a win on these, I think that has some reflection as to the win in the parenting category. So the parenting category is a category in your life where it's not just about you parenting others, but it's also about unresolved trauma that you might also have about how you were parented. And sometimes, we have to come to a point in our lives when we decide that we are no longer going to blame, what's happened to our life, to our parents, that our parents were doing the best they could with what they had at the time. And that it is our opportunity now to really take extreme ownership and responsibility. And if need be, reparent ourselves in many areas, money being one of them, for a lot of us, money, how to be a mom, how to be an amazing life partner. Perhaps we didn't have the best, examples in our parents and our moms and our dads, and it's up to us at a certain point to reparent ourselves and to really heal that and really create a brand new standard, a brand new page, a brand new chapter, not just for us, but for future generations, within our family. It is our responsibility to change our family tree. And so, parenting has that, that two aspects that I think, in my opinion, in order to be a great mom and a great entrepreneur and a great businesswoman and juggle all those things at once, that you need to start even, prior to that and looking at the relationship on how you were parented or how you wish you would have been parented, and then parenting yourself, to that new level, so that when it is your turn and your time to really step up and be a parent, of either an amazing young boy or young girl, that you do it with much more consciousness, with much more intention, with much more thought behind it. And you're still going to screw up. You're still going to make mistakes. It's normal. We all do. But that we, continue moving forward in faith, knowing that, you're doing it just like your parents did, the best that you can with what you do, but put perhaps a little bit more intention, for sure. So I wanted to talk about, the question was also along the lines, from that lady on direct message around, how do you overcome feeling guilty for not spending a lot of time, with your child? And I think there's two ways to look at it. One of this is a very tactical, pragmatic, strategic way, which is to say, you know what, it's time management. It's about, deciding what is most important to you, whether it be quality or whether it be quantity. In my opinion, in my direct experience, the best decision that I could have ever made was to go for quality. And so I have non-negotiable times when I spend, with my daughter, and Jack is the same. He loves bringing her to school in the mornings and really setting the day and setting the tone and the energy with which she starts her day. And for me, I'm really a lot about, the school pickup and what happened and what transpired during the day, and how can I reframe that, and how can I, instill in her incredible, work ethic and habits to study, and, help with math or with English or with whatever, comes my way, and really being there for her, supportive, regardless of what happened in school with perhaps a teacher where she wasn't able to advocate for herself, as she should have, or perhaps, in a conflict on the school playground with one of her lady friends, without being a helicopter mom, but just being there for her and having an open dialogue and an open conversation as to, how her day transpired. I'm all about, I really love that part. And then Jack loves also the right at the end of the day, he loves, reading a book, reading a story, together, sharing, what we're grateful for, what were the 3 best things that happened that day, and really going to bed in that mindset as well. So, and that requires you making a conscious decision and commitment, if you have a spouse or if you're a single mom, to decide, okay, there's certain things that I'm okay with, in terms of, like, my house does not have to look spick and span, but I will make the time, to be there at school pickup, to be there, for whenever she needs me for anything regarding school, to be there for anything when, that she needs regarding any conversation that she wants to have about what happened with a friend or so in school, that you're there for her. And some of the things that I do, because I've already had, Jack, when he goes to school with her, has the benefit of a clean slate, clean day, where he's setting the tone for her. And for me, I'm coming at it when, and having to spend time with her, or spending time with her when she's already had a full day and I've already had a full day. And it is up to me as a parent, as the adult, to say, okay, what do I need to let go before I go pick her up, in order to release, decompress, and be fully there for her, present for her, and not bring any of the stresses of work and of whatever has transpired during my day when I go and pick her up. And for me, it's about rituals. I do a 20-minute yoga nidra, which is like a yoga meditation. And that's my way of pretty much decompressing, letting go, and being really clear headed and clear in my heart, so that when I go and pick her up, I'm there fully showing up for her, So some of it is that. And then a second aspect that I don't think is really talked about is the fact that the reason why I have zero guilt about, working, and sometimes not having, not every single day I'm able to be there for her, with studying or with, whatever she needs. But I'm able to reconcile that, because I know that in the times when I am not there for her on certain afternoons, during the week, that what she's seeing, out of me is an example of someone that is having big dreams, that is having big goals, and that is not just talking about having those dreams and having those big goals and having those big visions and daring, to go for big things, but is also demonstrating to her on every single day, what it feels like to be passionate, to be really on fire, for the life that you're leading, and going out there and showing up. And so for me, I don't feel any guilt, because when I am not with her, what she's seeing, from me is someone that loves what she does, that really is pushing the boundaries of what's possible, that even though she might be scared, is still showing up and doing the things that need to be done, that in spite of the chaos and uncertainty and all the crisis that comes with it, sometimes, being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, leading a team, that I'm willing to show up, that I'm willing to get in the game, that I'm willing to get, roll up my sleeves, and that I'm and that I'm enjoying, that I'm finding the joy in the learnings, even when, things don't go my way, that each and every single of those moments where she's watching me do that I might not be necessarily engaging or interacting with her personally, that she's seeing me engage with others, or in our business, that is impacting her in a way that, that is bigger than any legacy in monetary wealth that I can give her, that is, she's seeing basically an example of a woman there that is daring, and being brave, and that is willing to do what it takes, that is willing to do that, the hard work, that is not shying from the hard work, that is able to deal with unknown, that, that is full of faith, that is willing to move forward in faith regardless of what's happening. And that is really not running away, but is facing life, and that is facing it in the best way she can. And that for me, takes away and melts away any of the guilt that I might have about not necessarily being there for her and engaging with her. And I think this is something that you need to, I don't know if it's a reconciliation, but much more of an acceptance of, or of a drawing a line in the sand as to what you want your legacy for your daughters. If it's your daughters that you're showing up for, of what that legacy looks like for them, or if it's, if it's boys that you have, how are you teaching them, through demonstration, not just by talking about how a woman, their future life partner could be, and so I feel that I have an obligation to her to, to really walk the talk, to really, like I said earlier, do brave things, to be brave, to be courageous, to have the courage to go for the opportunities that present themselves. And that every single time that I'm doing it, I'm having an obligation to her, but also to the rest of the world, to other women, to other moms, to other little girls, to everyone really, that I have an obligation, because every time I do something brave and courageous that is outside of the norm, that where I don't feel, comfortable, that I'm leaving an imprint of that energy and of that release of limitation. I'm basically leaving an imprint into the universe, and I'm expanding the universe every single time I do that. And I'm not just doing it for her, but for everyone else, everyone else that comes after me, that is part of this, collective. I don't want to sound like a little too woo, this collective, force field that we all live in energetic wise, and so I think that's what fires me up. That's what makes me not feel guilty at all about, the things that I engage in, the goals that I have, is knowing that she's seeing that, and that I am a, living daily demonstration of, of how you can live life to the fullest, and how I do it, with humility, with kindness, but at the same time, she can tell, that even though I exhibit those characteristics, if somebody is not being kind, to you, that sometimes you shouldn't take shit either, so be kind, but that you shouldn't take any shit. And that sometimes you need to take a stand for what you believe, and that you are going to have to sometimes stand alone, and that is okay, that is fine for a woman, for a little girl that is in the future going to be also an amazing, woman, and that it's okay to stand up alone for yourself, to be a contrarian, to not be like everyone else, to not, flow with the masses, to walk to your own beat. That is fine, that is okay, and yeah, what more I think rich legacy could I leave than her seeing that and knowing that I'm impacting others, that I take pride in the work that I do, that everything I do it, in the highest possible way and standard of excellence. And that I don't believe in shortcuts, that I believe in doing the reps and having zero hard work and rolling up your sleeves, and and I know for sure that is having an imprint in her, that energy, that force field that she's living in, that I am exuding, that I am creating for her, that she is absorbing it. We all absorb the energy of our parents, and that she is starting at a different point than I started, in terms of being someone that is willing to go for big things, career-wise, financial-wise, money-wise, leadership-wise, that I had, and it wasn't because my mother didn't want to do those things. It's because she didn't have, and she wasn't able to create the opportunities. The resources were not there. But for Sophia, it'll be a different ballgame for sure. And so that's basically, I think I had jotted down a few notes, as far as some of the things that I wanted to cover, and how I pretty much don't believe in any of that. I think in that maybe at the beginning I may have had a little bit of mom brain, where I was confusing mom brain with being guilty, and I had to recognize that us, women, we're wired, our brains are wired completely different, and we have a much more wider, I would say, spectrum or encompassing perspective of the things that we can juggle. And I always thought that was guilt when I was at work and I was thinking about Sophia. And no, this is just having a normal mom brain, a normal female brain that is able to entertain and have a much more wider, encompassing and expansive perspective, basically, of life. And that is not guilt. That is actually a superpower of us women, that we're able to do that, and not just think linearly, but really much more all-encompassing. And that's something that's very unique, very feminine for us. And so that's it. That's, I think, my secret. That's the recipe, and know that I'm always working every single day on showing up, on being better, on showing her what it is to live a life full of passion, of adventure, sometimes maybe even a little danger in decisions that I take that require some risk, and that I'm willing to take those risks because I'm making decisions today for my future self. And if I want different things in the future, that I need to make decisions that are different today from the ones that I have taken before. And that, it's much more important for me to be a student of a great life than, like my friend Margie likes to say, than being a king of a mediocre one. And that is the biggest legacy that I can leave for her. So what are you guys doing? I would love to encourage here a conversation for all people listening, for all the ladies listening. Send me a DM. I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. I'm on Facebook at Michelle Bosch. And what, how are you dealing, with this itty bitty shitty committee voice that sometimes, tells you, oh, I feel guilty about doing this or about doing that. And it's not about, this or that. It's about having, whole life leadership and living a full life, and seeing a much wider perspective of what, how you're leading and leaving your life is creating and building a legacy for your children, and especially for your daughters. Because I'm especially, have a soft spot for the next generation of women, the next generation of women owners, of women business owners, of women CEOs, of women investors, entrepreneurs, and we are basically right now the models for that next generation. And it's up to us to do it unapologetically, with joy, with grace, with gusto, and sometimes even with struggle, but them knowing that, that we're doing it because we're doing it, for a bigger good. We're doing it, to impact others. We're doing it because we find joy in it. We're finding joy even in the learnings, even when things don't go our way, and how we are dealing with those situations is an incredible legacy as well, for all of our daughters. So with that, thank you so much for listening to another episode. And I can't wait to come to you guys next week with another, gold nuggets, mind vitamins, or another amazing woman or thought leader in not just the real estate industry, but in other industries as well. Thank you so much. And I look forward to being with you on the next one. Bye-bye.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.